Your arteries are narrowing right now, not next year, not sometime in the future. Right now, as you watch this, plaque is quietly building inside the walls of your blood vessels. And most people over 60 have no idea it is happening. Until something goes catastrophically wrong, a heart attack does not send a warning. A stroke does not schedule an appointment. They simply arrive. But here is what most people have never been told. Certain everyday foods available at any grocery store, possibly already in your kitchen, have been documented in published clinical research to slow arterial plaque formation, reduce the inflammation that drives it, and restore blood flow to levels many people have not experienced in years. Not a surgical procedure, not a prescription with a long list of side effects. Food chosen deliberately, prepared correctly. You may have been told that once your arteries begin narrowing, your only options are medication or intervention. After many years working with older adults on exactly this problem, staying quiet about what the research actually shows is no longer an option. In the next 15 minutes, I am going to walk you through the 10 most powerful foods for arterial health, ranked from helpful to genuinely extraordinary. Explain the biological mechanism behind each one and give you the specific preparation details that determine whether you get the full benefit or almost none at all. The number one food on this list is something most people over 60 eat regularly, but nearly all of them eat it in a way that cancels out its most powerful effect entirely. A clinical trial published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology documented a 38% reduction in arterial measurements in just 30 days. I will tell you exactly what that preparation mistake is when we get there. Before we go further, drop a comment right now with just your age, nothing else. I want to see who is watching this because the urgency of what I'm about to share applies differently depending on whether you are 62 or 78. And if you have ever noticed unexplained fatigue after meals, cold hands and feet, unrelated to temperature, or mental fog that was not there 5 years ago, add the word circulation to your comment. Those are symptoms most people dismiss as normal aging. They are not. They are signals. You will understand exactly why in a few minutes. Here's what happens in medical offices every single day. A 72-year-old comes in for a routine checkup, blood pressure slightly elevated, cholesterol borderline. The doctor runs the standard panel, checks the boxes, and writes a prescription. 6 months later, the numbers have improved. Everyone is satisfied. The patient leaves feeling managed. What that appointment almost never includes is a real conversation about what is happening structurally inside the arterial walls. The standard cholesterol panel does not show arterial inflammation. It does not show oxidized LDL particles embedding in endothelial tissue. It does not show fibrin deposits accumulating around narrowing vessels. Research published in The Lancet found that adults over 60 with moderate arterial plaque were 4 times more likely to experience a major cardiovascular event within 5 years compared to those with clean arteries. 4 times. And the same research confirmed that targeted dietary intervention without any medication change produced measurable plaque reduction in the majority of participants within 90 days. That gap between what the published evidence demonstrates and what most people are actually told during a 15-minute appointment is precisely why this conversation matters. If you want to understand the why, not just a list of foods, what follows will give you a completely different framework for thinking about arterial health after 60. 3 fundamental biological changes occur with age that most dietary guidelines simply do not account for. First, nitric oxide production drops by more than 50% after age 60. Nitric oxide is what the cells lining your arteries produce to keep those vessels flexible, dilated, and resistant to deposits. Think of it as the internal pressure relief valve of your cardiovascular system. When it works, vessels stay open. When it fails, they stiffen and narrow. Nearly every food on this list works on restoring that valve. Second, LDL cholesterol particles become denser and more adhesive with age. The danger is not the quantity of LDL, it is the particle character. Small, dense, oxidized LDL embeds in arterial walls and initiates plaque. Standard panels do not distinguish between particle types, but foods that prevent LDL oxidation in the first place reduce the dangerous form directly. Third, chronic low-grade inflammation becomes nearly universal by age 65. Elevated markers like C-reactive protein and interleukin-6 attack arterial walls continuously, creating microscopic injury sites where plaque accumulates. An inflamed artery is like a wall covered in hooks. Plaque attaches far more easily. These are not small differences. They demand a fundamentally different nutritional response, and yet most guidelines were written without specifically accounting for them. Number 10, pomegranate seeds contain compounds called punicalagins, and punicic acids roughly 3 times more potent than those in red wine by clinical measurement. They prevent LDL oxidation, blocking the transformation from harmless cholesterol into the sticky plaque-forming form that embeds in arterial walls. A landmark study in clinical nutrition followed patients patients with carotid artery stenosis for 3 years. Daily pomegranate juice reduced arterial plaque by 30%. The control group, same lifestyle, same medications, saw a 9% plaque increase over the same period. One variable, one outcome difference. Critical preparation detail, pomegranate juice from concentrate is not the same product. Processing destroys up to 70% of the active compounds. Fresh seeds or cold-pressed juice with no added sugar. A small glass in the morning or a quarter cup of seeds 3 to 4 times per week. Number 9, sardines. Omega-3 fatty acids suppress an enzyme called LP-PLA2, which destabilizes arterial plaques, converting stable plaque into the dangerous kind that ruptures and causes heart attacks. No synthetic supplement has replicated this effect with the same consistency. A 2020 meta-analysis in the Journal of the American Heart Association reviewed 13 clinical trials involving more than 127,000 participants. Regular omega-3 rich fish consumption reduced cardiovascular mortality by 36% in adults over 60. More than a third of all cardiovascular deaths addressed through dietary choice. Sardines specifically accumulate virtually no mercury because they sit low in the food chain. Older adults are particularly vulnerable to mercury toxicity, which ironically increases cardiovascular risk. 2 cans per week, packed in olive oil rather than sunflower oil. Number 8, rolled or steel-cut oatmeal, not instant packets. Inside whole oats is a soluble fiber called beta-glucan that forms a thick gel in your digestive tract. That gel binds to bile acids and carries them out of the body before reabsorption. Your liver, needing to produce more bile acids, pulls cholesterol directly from the bloodstream. A measurable LDL reduction every time you eat it. The FDA has officially approved the health claim that 3 grams of beta-glucan daily reduces heart disease risk. 3 grams is exactly what you find in 1.5 cups of cooked rolled oats. A New England Journal of Medicine study found that replacing refined grains with oatmeal for 8 weeks reduced LDL by an average of 23% without any medication change. Enhancement, 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed on top of your morning bowl. The combination of beta-glucan and flaxseed lignans produces a synergistic effect measurably more powerful than either food alone. Number 7, walnuts. Beyond their plant-based omega-3 content, walnuts contain L-arginine, an amino acid your body converts directly into nitric oxide. That is the same pathway that declines by more than 50% after 60 and is responsible for keeping arteries open and flexible. A 2021 study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology, the WAHA trial, followed 708 older adults. Daily walnut consumption reduced overall cardiovascular risk factors by 14% and reduced interleukin-6, the inflammatory marker linked to plaque rupture, by 11.5%. Eat walnuts between meals, not with them. When consumed alone, L-arginine is absorbed with significantly greater efficiency. A small handful, about 7 whole walnuts, as a mid-morning or mid-afternoon snack. I want to pause here for a moment. A 74-year-old retired teacher, I will call her Margaret, came in facing a stenting recommendation for a 65% arterial blockage. She had 3 months before the scheduled procedure. A structured dietary protocol was built using the foods covered here. Within 12 weeks, follow-up imaging showed measurable plaque reduction. The procedure was postponed for further monitoring. At her next appointment, she said she felt like she had her life back. She had been preparing for a hospital stay. Instead, she was walking her dog twice a day and sleeping through the night. That is what this approach can do when given a real opportunity to work. Number 6, dark chocolate, 70% cocoa content or higher. Cocoa flavanols directly stimulate nitric oxide production in the cells lining your arteries. When those cells produce more nitric oxide, arteries dilate, blood pressure drops, and circulation improves. This effect begins within 90 minutes of consumption, not days, 90 minutes. A Harvard Medical School study followed 55,000 adults over 13 years. Moderate consumption of high-quality dark chocolate was associated with a 57% lower risk of coronary artery disease. The critical distinction, milk chocolate delivers almost none of this benefit. Milk proteins bind to cocoa flavanols and neutralize them entirely. The 70% threshold is the minimum at which therapeutic compounds remain bioavailable. 1 to 2 small squares per day, 20 to 30 grams is the optimal dose. Enhancement, pair with unsweetened green tea. Green tea EGCG acts synergistically with cocoa flavanols to amplify nitric oxide production by an estimated 40% beyond what either produces alone. An afternoon pairing your arteries will respond respond immeasurably. Number 5, garlic. When garlic is crushed or chopped, it releases allicin, a compound that inhibits HMG-CoA reductase, the exact enzyme that statin medications block. Garlic achieves this naturally without the systemic side effects that cause many people to discontinue statin therapy. Allicin also breaks down fibrin deposits, the protein threads that hold plaque structures together in narrowed arteries. A meta-analysis in the Journal of Nutrition, reviewing 39 clinical trials, found that garlic reduced total cholesterol by 17 milligrams per deciliter and LDL by 9 milligrams per deciliter, while reducing blood pressure by up to 8%. The preparation step that determines whether this works. After crushing garlic, allow it to rest for exactly 10 minutes before applying heat or eating. That resting period completes the enzymatic conversion that produces allicin. Apply heat immediately and you destroy the responsible enzyme before the process finishes. 10 minutes doubles the therapeutic benefit of every clove. 2 to 4 cloves per day. Number 4, turmeric. Curcumin directly inhibits NF-κB, the master switch of chronic inflammation in the body. When NF-κB is activated, the immune system attacks arterial walls and creates injury sites where plaque forms. Curcumin switches that pathway off at the source, not downstream. A 2017 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that curcumin supplementation over 8 weeks reduced arterial stiffness, a primary independent risk factor for stroke, by 37% in women over 60. The non-negotiable preparation requirement, up to 95% of curcumin passes through the body without entering the bloodstream when consumed alone. Combined with black pepper, specifically piperine, absorption increases by up to 2,000%. Turmeric without black pepper delivers almost nothing therapeutically. Half a teaspoon of turmeric with a quarter teaspoon of black pepper in warm water with a small amount of coconut oil once daily. A 68-year-old patient, I will call him Robert, arrived after his coronary calcium score jumped from 120 to 380 in 2 years. After 5 months on a protocol anchored by turmeric and black pepper alongside these foods, his CRP dropped from 3.8 to 1.1. An LDL particle count decreased by 28%. His physician held off on the statin prescription. Robert called one evening and said he had gone back to physical exercise for the first time in 3 years. He said he felt like he had reclaimed time he thought was gone. Number 3, avocado. Avocado spent years being avoided because of its fat content. That avoidance had real cardiovascular consequences. The monounsaturated fats in avocado, primarily oleic acid, increase HDL while simultaneously reducing small, dense LDL particles, the oxidation-prone plaque-forming cholesterol subtype. This dual action is rare in a single food. Avocados are also among the richest dietary sources of potassium, more preserving than bananas, which counteracts arterial stiffening by relaxing smooth muscle cells and artery walls. A natural vasodilator operating through a mechanism separate from the nitric oxide pathway. A 2021 study in the Journal of the American Heart Association enrolled 1,008 adults with elevated cardiovascular risk. Those who replaced saturated fats with avocado experienced a 21% reduction in small, dense LDL particles over 6 weeks. 6 weeks of consistent dietary change. A 21% reduction in the most dangerous cholesterol subtype. Half a medium avocado per day, with eggs in the morning over a salad at lunch, or mashed with lemon juice as a snack. Consistency matters more than method. Number 2, extra virgin olive oil. The distinction between extra virgin and regular olive oil is chemistry, not preference. Cold mechanical pressing without heat retains 2 specific compounds destroyed by refining. Oleocanthal, a natural anti-inflammatory functioning similarly to ibuprofen at the molecular level, and oleuropein, a polyphenol that directly prevents LDL oxidation, blocking plaque formation where it begins. The PREDIME study followed more than 7,000 high-risk adults for 5 years. Those consuming at least 4 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil daily had a 30% lower rate of major cardiovascular events, heart attacks, and strokes combined. Compared to the low-fat control group, the non-negotiable detail, heat destroys oleocanthal and oleuropein. Cooking at high temperatures eliminates the compounds that make this oil therapeutic. Pour it raw over finished dishes. Use it as a dressing. Drizzle over vegetables. 2 to 4 tablespoons per day, primarily unheated. A retired nurse who had spent 30 years in a cardiac unit faced carotid artery stenosis. At 71, she described it as humbling, knowing everything she knew professionally and still arriving at that diagnosis. Olive oil became the anchor of her daily protocol. 8 months later, imaging showed early signs of plaque regression. She said it was the first time in her life she felt like she was fighting arterial disease from the inside and making progress. Number 1, beets. I understand that surprises most people, but the clinical evidence behind beets and arterial health is more substantive than almost any pharmaceutical compound currently under investigation. For the same purpose, the mechanism, beets are the single richest dietary source of inorganic nitrate of any common food. Bacteria naturally present in your mouth convert those nitrates to nitrites. Those nitrites enter the bloodstream and in the lower oxygen environment near arterial walls convert directly into nitric oxide. The same nitric oxide your body produces progressively less of after 60. The same compound that keeps arteries flexible, dilated, and resistant to plaque accumulation. Beets also contain betaine, which reduces homocysteine, an inflammatory amino acid that directly damages artery walls when elevated. Research in the Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that homocysteine above 15 micromoles per liter increases cardiovascular risk by 32%. Betaine from beets reduces homocysteine by an average of 20%. Two distinct protective mechanisms operating simultaneously. The 2022 study in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology enrolled 200 adults over 60 with documented arterial plaque. Over 30 days, those consuming concentrated beet juice showed a 38% reduction in arterial stiffness measurements and significant plaque regression by intravascular ultrasound. The control group, same medications, same lifestyle, showed no change. Now, the critical mistake that eliminates nearly all of beets' benefit, antibacterial mouthwash. The first step in beets' nitric oxide conversion depends on oral bacteria. Antibacterial mouthwash kills those bacteria. Without them, nitrates pass through your system without ever becoming nitric oxide. You eat the food and access almost none of the primary mechanism. If you use antibacterial mouthwash, avoid it before your morning beet consumption, or switch to a non-antibacterial rinse. That single change unlocks the full therapeutic potential of every beet you eat. Second preparation error, boiling beets for more than 15 minutes degrades the betalain pigments responsible for significant anti-inflammatory activity. Light steaming, moderate roasting, cold-pressed juice, or raw slices in a salad all preserve what matters. 250 to 500 milliliters of fresh cold-pressed beet juice, or one medium beet each morning 30 to 60 minutes before any physical activity. Here is the complete daily protocol. Start tomorrow morning, beet juice or fresh beet first, no antibacterial mouthwash beforehand. 30 minutes later, rolled oats with 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed and a handful of walnuts. These three together form a cardiovascular morning foundation of exceptional combined effect. Lunch, extra virgin olive oil as your primary dressing, half an avocado on your plate, garlic in your preparation after the 10-minute resting period. Afternoon, 1 to 2 squares of 70% or higher, dark chocolate with unsweetened green tea. Dinner, turmeric and black pepper in whatever you are preparing. Sardines twice per week as a protein source. Pomegranate seeds over your salad or a small glass of cold-pressed pomegranate juice. Within 3 days, most people notice improved energy and reduced heaviness in the legs. Early signs of better peripheral circulation. Within 1 week, blood pressure readings typically begin to shift. Within 2 to 3 weeks, clearer thinking, better sleep quality, and more consistent energy throughout the day, direct consequences of improved blood flow. Within 30 days, measurable changes in inflammation markers. 4 errors to avoid. Do not treat these foods as occasional additions. Consistency creates arterial change. Sporadic use creates none. Do not use antibacterial mouthwash before beets. Do not cook extra virgin olive oil at high heat. Do not purchase pomegranate juice from concentrate or chocolate below 70% cocoa. A 77-year-old retired engineer, I will call him David, came in after his second cardiac catheterization. He was despondent. His body felt like it was working against him. A protocol was built together using everything covered today over months, one deliberate change at a time. At his annual physical the following year, his cardiologist reviewed the imaging and said, "Whatever you are doing, keep doing it because these arteries look significantly better than they did 3 years ago." David called that afternoon. He said, "Thank you for not giving up on me." And then he laughed because he had spent his granddaughter's 6th birthday almost keeping pace with her. She has unlimited energy at 6 years old. He almost kept pace. That is what we are fighting for. Not simply longer lives, better ones. Lives where you are present, capable, and genuinely there for the people who matter. Arterial disease is not an inevitable consequence of aging. It is the predictable result of decades of nutritional deficiency combined with chronic inflammation. Both are directly measured measurably addressable through what you choose to eat every single day. Drop a comment right now saying arteries if this gave you something real today, if it answered questions you've been carrying. That word tells me you are ready to take your cardiovascular health seriously. Think of one specific person you care about, someone who has been told their cholesterol is too high, or who had a cardiovascular event, or who simply eats the way most people over 60 eat without understanding what that is doing inside their arteries. Send them this video right now, not later. Right now, that single action may be the most genuinely useful thing you do for their health today. Subscribe to this channel. The mission here is straightforward, honest, research-grounded health information for adults over 60 before something goes wrong rather than after. In the next video, the focus will be on the 5 morning habits most people over 60 practice specifically because they believe those habits are healthy and what recent research actually shows about their effect on metabolic function. The findings contradict conventional advice clearly enough that reviewing them a second time is still surprising. You will not want to miss it. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as medical advice. Cardiovascular health management must be individualized based on your complete medical history and current health status. Never adjust or discontinue any medication without first consulting your healthcare provider. The information presented reflects current published research and should not replace evaluation by a qualified medical professional.